Welcome back to the Simpleton Review. I'm Charlie Simpleton. Who's next? Introduce yourselves. Come on.
I'm Nate Simpleton.
I'm Lemuel Simpleton.
And I'm just a simpleton.
All right, and we're here to talk about All the Light We Cannot See. This is a movie that came out on Netflix. It's a World War II epic, and it's a roller coaster ride of interesting. It's much more dramatic than I thought it was going to be, and a little bit less action. Let's hear what everybody has to say. Nate, let's see if you've got some history on this.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, All the Light We Cannot See. I'll just read the Wikipedia entry, shall we? Look,
There we go.
It's an American drama series, right? But it's based in France in World War II. It's developed by Stephen Knight for Netflix. It's based off of Anthony Doerr, who actually is a Boise resident, Boise, Idaho resident. So he's got kind of a connection to where we are located. And he's a Pulitzer Prize winning author. I believe this book won the Pulitzer Prize, if I'm not mistaken. The show, which is a 5-part series, is 5 or 4?
Yeah, it's a mini-series of something.
Yeah, 4-part series. Stars Hugh Laurie, Mark Ruffalo, Mia Liberti, Mia Liberti is her name. And then that dude from, what show was he from, Lem?
Dark.
You told me. What?
He's from Dark.
Dark,
Oh,
yes. He's on the other Netflix show called Dark. He plays basically the main character of that TV show, which if you've not seen Dark, I recommend it.
It's
very weird. It will
good.
fry your brain, and you'll be going, "What did I just watch?" But it's very worth it. Yeah, it's one of the most interesting time travel shows I've ever seen. That's the history. Who wants to talk about it first?
I'll keep going. I'll take it back. It's a great feeling movie. It moves right along. You know, each aspect of the story shows both the ups and downs of humanity. Having it be as a World War II epic made it much more attention grabbing. I mean, it's not the Sound of Music, genre where everything like goes dark a little bit but stays kind of happy. This one definitely showed a true dark side and the true light side, and how beastly we could be to each other, as well as good.
So it went all Star Wars on us, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, almost. Yeah, it flipped back and forth.
Well, you said it had the light and the dark side, so.
Well, it's probably because we're talking about blindness and not being able to see versus like light within us.
Yeah.
Whatnot.
Sure.
So I just didn't want to do too much plot reveal, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time to watch. It felt like definitely a made for TV kind of epic. I mean, it was definitely one of those that was like you could see like the BBC doing for one of their miniseries. Just thinking back to like Hugh Laurie and Roadkill, those kind of things, and this one fits right along well with that. So definitely masterpiece theater kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Okay, Trista, what about you?
I have a few things to say about it. I wasn't the biggest
Everybody
fan
grab your
of it.
popcorn.
I wasn't the biggest fan. And that's coming... I like war films and war documentaries and stuff. I did a whole essay in college about war films and stuff. This one falls under the category of war films that I feel like they try to be super dramatic with it and kind of go over the top, and it ruins the point of the humanity of a war film. So for example, just the characters being over dramatic about certain events, and I don't know if this is based off of like a true story or inspired by okay. Biggest thing was the blind girl. I know it's like a pivotal part of the show and stuff, but I genuinely felt like there was absolutely no point to her being blind, because half the time it doesn't play a part of anything important in a way. There was a couple scenes where I expected the fact that she's blind to come up and be a very pivotal character trait, and then it just kind of gets sidelined, and they just kind of find an excuse for her to like not have an issue with what's going on. Her traversing the town and stuff, they make up this elaborate like mapping scheme with models and stuff, which is really cool and it's neat to see on screen. But practically and realistically, it just felt really off to me. And just other scenes, like her being able to traverse the town after it's been bombed and stuff. Like, what? That doesn't make sense to me for some reason. But there's a lot of war films and stuff like that.
Because she
where
was
I feel
blind,
like...
she wouldn't be able to do it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because the surface
Yes and
would have
no.
changed.
Yeah,
if
the
place
surface
has
would
been
have
bombed.
changed. I could see her
everything would
being
change.
able to do it on a regular day when she kind of does have it mapped out in her mind, but this town has been like completely ravaged by World War II, so I can't imagine she'd just be able to just walk through the town so easily, but she does without any hindrance. And there's just a bunch of other scenes like that I was just like, okay, I feel like you could have done a lot more with it than you did. And then just other character interactions that felt really dramatic to me and not in a good way. And that sucks because I do think it is a neat show and it has a really interesting idea and perspective, but they just don't use it to its fullest potential, and it kind of ruins the atmosphere of it, to me at least. Sure. So that's kind of the main issues I had with it.
Okay, yeah, very good. All right. Lemuel,
I disagree.
Whoa, we got a Siskel and Ebert thing going on here. All right, let's go. Who's Siskel? Who's Ebert?
Sucked in the moment the show started. I thought all the characters, except for the main antagonist, were complex. He was the most simple character in the whole show, I think. I will say that for sure. But I think every other character was fairly complex, especially the protagonist Nazi. I don't know how else to describe him without like giving things away. The kid. The radio operator kid. I think he was probably the most complex out of all the characters, but every character felt somewhat complex. I liked the way it bounced around from backstory to current events. I liked the way it was shot. The only thing that I thought was kind of silly is when the invasion truly started towards the end of the series. There were a couple scenes in there where I was like, okay, that is a little goofy. I'll give you that. That's a little goofy. Other than that, I truly enjoyed it. Now, the invasion
of that, okay, well, let me just interrupt. That town is an actual town, and the Allied invasion of that actually did happen. So that part of it is based in reality. So
right,
it was pretty much bombed to the ground, first by the Nazis and then by the Allies.
Yeah. Well, there was just one shot in particular where I was like, "That's a little silly." So that was the only.
I did find it kind of funny when you'd see for a long stretch, there's only a base number of characters, and then all of a sudden there's crowds of people.
Right.
When he's running along the wall, it's like, where did all these soldiers come from?
Well, that's what I thought was
because they weren't
goofy.
here. They weren't here most of the time.
Yeah. I've never read the book, so it's hard to compare in that respect. So I'll just go, as I think all four of us are doing here, we're just going to go basically by what we saw on Netflix, the show on Netflix. I thought it was okay, so the book itself, I do know would be considered, there's a genre of books called literary. Okay, that's what they call them. This show felt literary. It was overdramatic. The characters were, as was said, overly soap opera-esque in some of the ways they reacted. I think the individual acting efforts were really good, depending on who you're talking about. I didn't like Mark Ruffalo's character. I thought he did not that great of a job. His accent was god-awful.
I was gonna say that! I hated his accent!
I can show a French accent.
Yeah.
I didn't know what he was trying to do.
Right. And then you have Hugh Laurie, who is English, still trying to do a French accent, which I thought was really dumb. They did pick actual Germans to play the main German parts, which was good. Which, Lemuel, you were talking about the fact that the main Nazi character was in another show on Netflix called Dark. There's another young Nazi character in the show. He's actually from the Netflix movie All Quiet on the Western Front. I'm fairly certain he's the one who played the main character in All Quiet on the Western Front. He goes from one German soldier flick to another German soldier flick. I felt let down. I was like, okay, I just was like, yeah, great. I really do agree with Tristan on a lot of the things. I just felt like it was overacted. I felt like the plot was like, what? Okay. I mean, there were some really cool plot twists and things like that, and we're trying our best to be plot spoiling free here. There was just issues there where I was just like, man, okay, this is really good. And then at the end, you're like, well, like Charlie said, I just felt like I just got done watching Masterpiece Theater. It's just like, are you serious? Okay, man. I mean, just woo. So I looked up on the Wikipedia page here. I don't know when this was last edited, but the review aggregator for Rotten Tomatoes reported that this show had a 27% rating on it.
Yeah. And
with an average of 5.1 out of 10 based on 60 critic reviews. The website's critic consensus was, I like this one, it kind of sums it up. While all the light we cannot see has a bright cast, its potential is often snuffed out by a totally awkward blend of serious and silly.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, even the Nazi antagonist was silly.
Yeah,
he was really quite silly.
That guy has a lot of plot points, and I won't get into details to avoid spoilers, but there was a lot of stuff with his character and his reasoning that just didn't make sense, and it kind of diverted away from what I felt should have been the point, which was the blind girl and kind of her interactions. The whole plot between them just made no sense to me, and it's like, why is this here? This doesn't fit here for some reason.
I think, from what I understand, there are major differences in the end of the show as opposed to what the end of the book is. That's all I'll say there. But I like major differences that can kind of change as we discussed there, the tonality of the whole thing. I guess we have to read the book and find out exactly if that's accurate or not. But let's go ahead and give our scores.
Put it on a TV red list.
Charlie, let's start with you.
I actually got into it because I got to watch it with Sherry and everything, so I'm going to give it a 3. But that's more, just because of I did enjoy the vibe, just because it was fun. The visuals are really good, and that's more of why I liked it, was because they played very well, tying the emotions up with the visual quality. So
okay, Lemuel.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to give it a 4. I liked it. I had fun.
Yeah.
I watched it every chance I could get for the 4 episodes that I had. I just couldn't put it down, so I liked it.
Does it inspire you to want to read the book?
Yes, actually. But I might be lazy and just do the audiobook instead.
I don't know if that's lazy. I honestly don't know if that's lazy. I read like 20 books last year. The only reason that was the case is because I listened to audiobooks. Otherwise, I wouldn't have read any.
In this day
it's
and
better
age?
it's better to have something than nothing. Even if you're having it read to you, at least you're reading a story. Trista, go ahead. That's coming from somebody who does audiobook narration, so I'm just kind of, giving a plug.
I'm gonna have to go with 2.5. I was super excited for this. Like, I watched it right when it came out because I like war films like this. But I was so let down, and I was just uncomfortable with it. It didn't live up to the standards I thought it would, and so 2.5 is where I gotta put it. I will definitely read the book though at some point because I do want to see kind of what the difference would be.
Yeah, and maybe, who knows what the tonality is. Again, we're just going by what we saw on Netflix. I'd heard of this book before, but just in passing until the miniseries came out. So I will go with Trista's rating as well. I'll give it a 2.5. Yeah, I just felt like it was a high-budget masterpiece theater. That is what it is. I did appreciate the fact that they actually had some Nazi soldiers that weren't necessarily stereotypical Nazi soldiers. They definitely had very stereotypical Nazi soldiers in some of it. But there were others who were like, yeah, I'm doing this simply because I got drafted and told to do it. And so I did appreciate that aspect of it. If you want to watch, there's better war movies out there. Maybe not war. Well, if you want to watch a miniseries that's really good, go back to a good old classic like Band of Brothers or The Pacific. These are yes, they're from an American perspective on these stories. Talk about really delving into character development and having a very unified theme throughout every single episode, based on true stories, based on memoirs and stuff from soldiers that actually served in World War II as well. Good movies, if you want to see great movie flicks that are good war movies that are, not weird or 1980s war flicks from Hollywood, try 1917. That is an absolute masterpiece of a movie. That is just an amazing movie. War Horse. I mean, there's some good movies out. All Quiet on the Western Front by Netflix is an excellent. There's major differences between the movie and the book, but it is an excellent, well-produced movie.
I would also recommend the 1930s All Quiet on the Western Front. It's also equally as good. And I know some people don't like to watch old films, but I would definitely recommend it to see before you watch the Netflix version. They're very good.
Yes. One of the first books that Hitler ever banned, actually, was All Quiet on the Western Front. So I highly recommend it. And the 1970s/80s, I can't remember when that one's actually really good, too. The All Quiet on the Western Front that came out then as well. So it's been done into movies quite a few times, and I think most of them are well worth seeing. So, unfortunately, Netflix, you tried. You tried, but it just doesn't become Simpleton certified. So maybe next time when we review a Netflix movie, you might get this certification. You've gotten a few certifications over the years, but this one fails miserably. It's okay. It's okay. Don't pout too often. You can pick yourself up at the floor and move on. That's what we're all about here. That's what we're all about here. Yeah. Lem has no, I won't say it. This is the guy who thought that Kingdom Hearts album was fantastic and deserved whatever rating it was.
It was so good. I like that album a lot. I still listen to it pretty frequently.
All right. I'm about ready to cough, so I think we should sign off. Hey, guys, thanks so much for joining us here at the Simpleton Review. We look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the podcast. Leave your comments. Tell us what you think of this show, which I wanted to say something, and now I can't. Oh, all the light we cannot see. There it is. There it is. I remember now. I'm old. What can I say? You guys have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.